about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I've been going to the gym enough, I know it doesn't show, where I have kind of gained a appreciation for people that have good gym etiquette and a frustration for those people who don't. And, I was at the gym again yesterday, and I just figured maybe, we should talk about it, because I think you would think everybody got the memo. I used to in college work out at Gold's Gym, and I preferred Gold's Gym to some of the other ones, because those were people who really knew how to be at a gym. They knew how to use the equipment. They knew to clean it off. They knew not to bang the weights and make noises. Whereas some of the other places, you had a lot of newbies. You also had people looking for, a date. And so there was a lot of peacocking or strutting, your newly cosmetic surgeried figure. And I'm like, look, I just want to work out and with some serious people. And it's interesting because I love my gym. My gym is actually, it's great because, I get to see a lot of the Golden Knights there and stuff. So it's a great gym. And it's in my neighborhood, my housing neighborhood. What I like about that is, one, you got plenty of space, but two, the majority of people know what they're doing. But every now and then there's somebody who just, first and foremost, don't excessively grunt. That drives people crazy. I mean, come on. Okay, really? I'm looking, that was a 25-pound weight. Are you kidding me? Okay, I'm pressing at least 75, and you don't hear me, although I used to be able to bench press my weight. Now I couldn't put my back through that. But if I'm using some of the weights or some of the, I'm going to, lower it, of course. But gosh, these noises people are making. And again, it's because they're, trying to let other people know that they're there. Like, yeah, that was good weight. Another thing I don't like is hearing the weights clamp. I sometimes accidentally do that. So like when I'm on my final rep, sometimes you'll like ding, you'll hear the weight hit the other weight. Try to not do that because people don't want to hear that. There was somebody yesterday that would just drop them. And so every few seconds you would hear a drop, and it's distracting. And it doesn't matter what music you're listening to, you hear that. Another thing that I think drives us crazy, of course, wipe off the sweat. That's just, clean it off. You shouldn't really be sweating on the equipment. Okay. You should, but just, wipe down, clean it off, throw your towel away, or there's always a towel, a bin for you to put your dirty towel. Don't just leave it there. But one thing that also drives me crazy is, so my gym isn't as big as, some of these gyms. So we have 2 row machines. We have a couple, we have treadmills, and we have some stair steppers, but there's always somebody that is sitting there on their phone, and they're not necessarily working out. I mean, they might do just a little bit. And so there was a machine I wanted to use, and this person was on his phone for 30 minutes while sitting on the machine, and he was hardly doing a workout. I mean, he wasn't, breaking a sweat, and I'm like, I want to use that machine, but I didn't want to, and I think I'm of the age now where I'm like, excuse me, sir, how much longer are you going to be on that? But I could have used the one next to him. I just didn't want to be right next to him. I don't mind. If it's a busy day, I'll work out next to somebody. But, you have this kind of guy that's just sitting there on the phone. I'm like, I don't want to sit next to him and do my cycling or whatever. So, other thing is, don't leave your crap where like you're going to get off, and like people will leave their phones, people will leave their stuff there. I don't like unsolicited advice or commentary. If you know what you're doing, okay, and you say, look, this might help. If you want to kind of work on your traps, if you want to, work on your triceps, you might want to do it this way. I don't mind that. But when you don't know what you're talking about and you're trying to do that to start up conversation, no, like you're mansplaining to me. Let me give you some pointers. You could do it this way. And now they're in your space. And you're like, okay, thank you. I want to work out. Thank you. Yeah, well, let's see how you do. Right. You always have somebody that comes up and he's like, okay, well, do it this way. And then they stand there and watch to see if you're going to follow their directions. And I don't want to follow your directions. Maybe I have an old injury. Maybe it's because I don't want to face you. I have my back to you. So I'm doing the exercises towards the equipment because I don't want to be looking at your stupid ass with the other guy with the phone. And then they're like, well, and you're trying to be nice. But, and then, of course, you're like, okay, well, let me just get through it. So they leave. And then you do the move or whatever they want you. And then like, no, you're doing it wrong. And now you're engaged with this person. Yeah, and you're looking around going, and so what I'll do is I'll say, you know what, I'm actually done with arms. I'm done with upper body. So thank you, though. You taught me a lot. Thank you. And then I just get the hell away. But it's like, come on. And they go, oh, you sure? Do you need any other tips? No, I don't. Thank you, though. Hi. Yeah. I also don't like, somebody kind of messing with the, I'm trying to watch. So, like, yesterday I was trying to watch, was it the Panther Maple Leaf game was on? Yeah, because the Jets and Stars game was on later. So I was watching some of that. And then there was somebody going, well, why are we watching this? I want to see this. Or, it's like, gosh, just, I'm trying to watch the game. So shut the hell up. Okay. That's probably one of the biggest gym etiquettes I could recommend. Shut the hell up. Now, in terms of what you should do from a health perspective, stretch. I see people in a hurry. They run in, they rush in, and they only have their X amount of time. Do your stretches. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to stretch because when you stretch, like when I stretch, I mean, not see my butt, but it's so you could find a corner of the gym, or if you could even do it in the bathroom or showers area where you do your stretching and then come out. But I see people not stretch, and I'm like, you don't want to do that. All right, and then always do a cool down as well. 1-877-Doc-Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah or X, on Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So we do have some breaking news. Some white smoke is emitting, right, out of the Sistine Chapel, signifying that a new pope has been chosen. And boy, has the conclave been working round the clock on this one. Black smoke would tell the worshipers and everybody around and the well-wishers that a choice hadn't been made yet. But now we have white smoke. Although I've seen the memes, right? Like the gender identity where it's blue because it's a boy. Or there's one meme with Snoop Dogg and he's all dressed up, you know, as a priest or cardinal. And yeah, okay. Anyway, let's not go there with those jokes. But white smoke is pouring out of the Sistine Chapel chimney, meaning a pope has been elected. So we're being told that means the winner secured, according to AP News, 89 votes of the 133 cardinals participating in the conclave to elect a successor to Pope Francis. May he rest in peace. So the crowd at St. Peter's Square obviously erupted in cheers. And so we're going to have the name announced later. But this is O Habemus Papam, Latin for we have a pope. So Godspeed. This is going to be very exciting. The new pope will be expected to make a first public appearance, and exciting stuff. Also exciting, I don't know if you saw, but the stock market has gone crazy. I always check, at 6:30 a.m. because I live in the West Coast. So when stock market opens at 9:30 East, I always check 6:30 a.m. I'm like, and then you hear, well, Trump's making this announcement, and now the stocks are just going, just soaring. And the reason why is Trump has now announced a new trade deal with the UK. And from what it sounds pretty damn good. So as you know, U.S. has been screwed for many, many years as it pertains to tariffs, as it pertains to manufacturing. And so Trump is, not the first president to suggest it, but the first president to do something about it, where he started to do reciprocal tariffs, and not actually reciprocal because he said it would destroy their economies if he charged the same amount they're charging us. But he's, starting to raise tariffs to the point where it might equate or get closer to being fair. And however, he also wants to incite and improve domestic production of things, as well as these companies to build here in America, give jobs, bring the industries here so that they don't have to be tariffed. And so this UK trade deal, according to the UK Prime Minister Starmer, he said this deal is going to boost trade, create jobs. He seems happy. He also seems happy because May 8th, I know there's been some discussion. Was it May 2nd, the end of World War II? Was it May 8th? Here we are, the 80th anniversary of World War II. And he says May 8th, when it ended, was when the U.S. and UK formed another partnership. And he said this is pretty symbolic that here we are 80 years later, almost to the exact time, exact hour that this trade deal is made. So it's pretty exciting. So it looks like the UK's happy, America's happy. So according to Trump, he said today's agreement with the UK is the first in a series of agreements on trade that my administration has been negotiating over the past 4 weeks. With this deal, the UK joins the US in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is essential and vital principle for international trade. They say the deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for exports. So what? Agriculture, increasing access for American beef. So these other countries want American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers. So this is really good news for our farmers. And they said they'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. So, while we're waiting on more details, you heard from the UK Prime Minister. He seemed happy. Yeah, I'm not an economist, but I can identify when we're getting screwed And it has been something that we have been talking about for years. I even think Bill Clinton, wanted to address it. I think bipartisanly, we've all been seeing how we, are always paying more, whether it's to the UN, whether it's to the World Health Organization, and we're always being charged more. Why? Well, because we're U.S. And legislatures, Congress and the prior presidents are like, well, we're the best. So maybe, that's just a sign that we're the best. So we'll just let that ride. Or maybe it's because you have to do work and you have to do a lot of work in order to make, deals happen. So, it's interesting. Many people are asking, when are we going to feel some of these? When are we going to feel the Doge cuts and all the money we're saving in taxes? When are we going to feel this tariff money? And the same patience people were asked to have during the whole climate change agenda and solar panels and changing out your stoves to electric from gas and buying electric vehicles. Everybody said, be patient. This is for your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's going to take some time. I think we're going to feel it even sooner. In fact, actually, with some of the climate change stuff, Antarctica has been growing ice. We're going to be talking about that. I remember about 10 years ago, we spoke about how there was ice actually growing on the opposite pole of where the ice was melting. And so NASA had noticed that, we're definitely shifting, whether it's because we're not eating hamburgers like we used to, or whether it's because climate always changes. That's for you all to discuss. But it is going to take some time. I do recommend, though, that for Americans to understand, these deals sound wonderful, but for Americans to understand, how it impacts them, I really think those Doge checks, even if they're not the 5,000, but they're, a little as you go, as Elon Musk and the Doge team, although you notice you're not seeing as much Elon Musk because he's got to get back to run his current companies. Because, when the cat's away, the mice play. So he's got to make sure his companies are running well. But I would recommend that if we are seeing money saved, start giving the taxpayers those Doge dividend checks. And I don't think it should be a one-time thing. Even if it's smaller amounts, let them know, look, this is what we saved. And you didn't have to spend this money. So here's some of it back. And then send another check. Next fiscal quarter, send another check. And I think you're going to have the American public a lot more behind and maybe even helpful. I talked about this with these like academia and government and private companies where everybody at the end of the year keeps spending. So they aren't under budget because if they don't spend it, they don't get it the next year. So people are buying furniture or whatever just to make the budget work. I think what we need to do is switch that and say, look, if you saved money, depending on how much you were under budget, you're going to get a percentage bonus. And I think you will see everybody all across the country try and save money, because if that's going to come back to their pockets, you save the company money. So if you save the company money or you spend 20% less of your budget, we're going to give you some of that money back. And then people say, well, they'll just lower the budget. Well, not entirely. If they're smart, they could do this really smart and say, hey, but if you guys save 25% or 30%, right, off the budget, you're going to get this amount. We'll keep the budget the same, but let's see what you can do in terms of saving money. And I think it's going to incentivize everybody as long as every worker gets some of that percentage. It does have to be the whole percentage. Obviously, the company needs to make money. But in terms of you feeling like you are getting some of that back. And so that's what I think Doge needs to do in terms of these I think, stock market's going up. It's going to be going back and forth because we had a lot of inflation of the stock market before. It was nice last year, but we knew that there was going to be corrections. But in terms of the agriculture and farmers, I think they're going to feel this quickly. What I can't feel quick enough, though, is getting our medications domestically produced. We need to do that, and we need to do that now. I'm very, very nervous that we're still relying on China. And I understand the U.S. says we're close to a deal with China, and maybe there will be peace with China, hopefully. But we are very vulnerable, and that's something Trump and RFK Jr. has spoken out about, where we need to make sure that we can access our own medications. When there's these drug shortages, and we don't have chemotherapy agents. We don't have, there was some, there were some drugs that we were using for codes that we were short on. It was scary. It's very scary. And that wouldn't happen if we had the ability to produce more domestically. We didn't have to rely on other countries. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed SB 700. It's a law that he signed 2 days ago, eliminating the ability of local governments to add fluoride or other medical additives to the state's public water supply. Basically, he is saying to hydrate, not medicate. I agree with this. It's about time. He said, listen, the fluoride needed to be introduced back in the 1940s. 80 years ago, we had some major issues as it pertained to dental work, as it pertained to our dental health. But now we're getting fluoride in our vitamins. We're getting fluoride in our toothpaste. There's fluoridated other dental products. And so are we over-medicating? Is it time to revisit that? RFK Jr. has been arguing in favor of that for a long time. So I think it's definitely overdue. And so Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said jamming fluoride in the water supply is essentially a forced medication. At the end of the day, we should all agree that people deserve informed consent. So this new law is part of the broader Florida Farm Bill. It does not ban fluoride entirely. You could still purchase fluoridated water from private suppliers if you want, but it draws a line between the government forcing it and a person's choice. And I'm all for people's choice. I don't like mandates. So he says according to Fox News, he says when it gets hot in the Sunshine State, no one clamors for a cold glass of fluoride. That's according to State Senator Keith Truenow. He said, we will protect our natural resources and give Floridians the ability to make the best choices without government forcing unnecessary additives. Florida Agricultural Commissioner Wilton Simpson, who joined DeSantis at the signing, emphasized that this isn't about denying people fluoride, but ensuring they aren't medicated without consent. Today, Florida took a bold step and declared that drinking water will hydrate, not medicate. He said no Floridian shall be medicated without their consent, plain and simple. Through our Florida Farm Bill, we're saying loud and clear, Florida's water will be clean, it will be safe, and it'll be medication-free. That's what freedom looks like in the free state of Florida. And I've noticed, many of us don't touch the tap. We go to bottled water. Now, some of it's because we don't want some of the metals or the corrosion, or we don't want what happened in Flint, Michigan with lead and, coming into our systems, but also because a lot of people don't want the fluoride. And I think it's ridiculous that we're paying for water twice. We're paying for water for our house or apartment, and then we're paying for water to drink when we should be getting that water for free. And so I don't like having medicines and other people's hormones or drugs in my water. I get it. We're recycling a lot, but I hope this Make America Healthy Again agenda that we're seeing both, granularly at state level as well as RFK level will be, embraced by all of our water districts. I think it's important. So Make America Healthy Again is RFK Jr.'s stance to an initiative to emphasize consumer choice, reduce reliance on centralized health mandates, and a renewed skepticism of certain medical policies. So this is good. Now, so what happens next? When does this take place? So I don't know. I don't know how long it takes. Critics are, fighting it. I know the bill is passed, but critics are saying we need the mandated fluoridation to fight tooth decay, especially in children. But my issue with all of that is, are we quantitating how much these kids are getting? Now, I understand back in the 40s, you didn't have Capri Sun and fruit juices and, you might have been able to have a little lemonade if mom made it or some tea, but kids drank water and milk. And so you can, quantitate a little bit better. If the kids were drinking waters at every meal, et cetera, it wouldn't be an exact science. It was still very, very loose. But you knew they were getting that fluoride. Well, now, we have kids that brush their teeth with toothpaste. Some of them swallow the toothpaste, which you shouldn't. Some of them are getting polyviflor, which has fluoride in the vitamins. So now, is that too many? Now, critics will say, yeah, but these kids are drinking bottled water. So they're not getting the fluoride, but they're getting the fluoride every day when they brush their teeth, twice a day. Well, what if they're not brushing their teeth? Well, if you're going to put a very important vitamin into somebody's body, don't you want to quantitate it? You wouldn't do that with potassium. There could be too much potassium or too little potassium. If I'm going to recommend potassium to a hospitalized patient, I'm going to be quantitating the milliequivalents and the micrograms. Because you need to know. If not, you can mess with their heart. With fluoride, they're like, oh, it's fine because it's fixing the teeth. Well, is it leading to IQ issues? Is it leading to behavioral issues? Now, people will say, no, people are, these kids aren't drinking from the tap, so it's not hurting them now. Well, then, if it's moot, it's moot. Don't be adding it into the water system. Save us money. And instead, recommend, if you want, the vitamins, and recommend fluoridated dental products and dental visits. I mean, kids need essential amino acids. Are you going to put those in the water? Kids need vitamin C. Are you going to put that in the water? And look, I am very grateful we did what we did in the 1940s. That was not a bad idea. And we really did improve our teeth health, but it's not 1945. That's 80 years ago, people. Things are very, very different. I remember going to the dentist and you had to have that tray put in. Oh, that was painful and disgusting. Where you had to sit there and soak your teeth in fluoride. And it was disgusting tasting. I would cry. My jaw would clench. I couldn't stand those trays. Now they don't make you do that. They just, when they polish your teeth, they use something with fluoride in there. But we do have the ability now to get fluoride. And I know critics are saying, oh, but people are not going to get enough now if you take it out of the water. And how much are they getting? Give me a number. How many milliequivalents are they averaging? You don't know because you don't know how much you're drinking. What if it's a hot day and they're over drinking? How do you know their body is releasing the extra fluoride properly? How do you know it's not accumulating? Is anybody studying this? Bernie Sanders is like, well, we don't need to relitigate the science as it pertains to vaccines. We don't need to. And that's a fascinating concept because science is always evolving. Nobody's litigating. We are reevaluating to see if the body has changed, if other factors have changed. Like, look at how the flu shot might not work as well in obese individuals. That was a study that came out years ago. And so maybe some people need a booster. Why? Well, because we're heavier these days. So they argue, the Democrats and liberals are arguing, don't relitigate the science. We should use what was done in the past. Yet all of a sudden, everybody is on, their panties are all up in a bunch because RFK Jr. and Health and Human Services Secretary and NIH want to come up with a universal vaccine, but they're using, quote, 70-year-old technology and not the newer mRNA vaccines. They're going to be using kind of a very similar technology that we use for the flu shot. So which is it? Do you want us to not do old school or you want us to do new school? You got to pick one because all you're doing is complaining every day. I say let's figure out what is the best of the safest. There are some things that are tried and true and they work well. And there are other things that probably need to be tweaked. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So this is an interesting question. One of my listeners said that when they go and buy ground beef, the 80-20 is so much more expensive, or the very lean ground beef is so much more expensive than the more fattier ground beef. And because of prices of groceries, are they able to cook off the fat? And is there any danger buying the cheaper, more fattier meat if they think they could technically burn off the fat? So that's interesting. Now, I am no expert in groceries, but one thing I've noticed, yes, I have noticed that it is more expensive the leaner the meat. You also see it's more dark red because fat is white. So the lighter and the whiter that meat, the more fat content. I try and buy the higher. I tell you why I buy the leaner meat, and the higher filtering of the fat. One is I've learned to not trust labels. So when a label says they have a certain amount of milligrams of a vitamin, look at all these studies saying they were wrong. Look at how many juices have had levels of arsenic that they weren't supposed to. So I don't trust the label. So I trust the look of the meat. If the meat looks pretty dark red, and I always check the color of the meat because I don't like it when it's brown and things like that. And I think there's less fat content. I could work with it. And yes, you can. You can burn off the fat. You're going to have to drain. It's going to take some extra work, but you can technically burn, that out, cook it out. But the problem is how much product are you getting? And so the cheaper meat looks like you're getting a whole bunch more. But once you get rid of a lot of the fat content, you might actually be getting less meat. So what I do to save money is I do smaller portions for the family. Now, I understand I got a family of men, but they don't have to eat a half a meatloaf. I can make a small meatloaf, cut up pieces. I remember one time I bought a steak of some ahi tuna steak. And it was about the size of my palm. And my husband looks at that and he says, "How are you going to feed us? It's the size of your palm." And I'm going to slice it. I'm going to serve it over some rice and vegetables. And that's your meal. And it was filling. Not ahi tuna. I don't like the ahi tuna. It's the just the regular tuna steak. That's pink, red. I just like red. Don't ask. Everybody got filled up. It was fine. So if you want to save money with groceries, there's a lot of creativity. I'm not a big couponer. I remember my mom used to do that. I think it's because I just don't, open the mail and I don't. Because a lot of the coupons I think kind of get you because you have to buy 4. Or, by the time I use the coupon, I'm actually spending more money than I need to. But if you do study the science and you put your time into it, I really want to watch these shows, these extreme couponers where they really figure out how to save money and do things smart. If you do your research, you can really save a lot of money. Like I told you all during the Paris Olympics, for those people who were kind of jealous and depressed that they never went to Paris, and then it got really expensive to go to Paris because of the Olympics. I said, well, then don't fly to Paris. Fly to London. It's a lot cheaper, and then you just take the train or you take the Eurostar, and it makes it a little bit more affordable. And so if you do your research, you could find out that a lot of times you're able to go where you need to go. I've wanted to go to Maine. I've wanted to do a trip where I go through New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine and do the upper eastern seaboard. Well, there's a wedding. My friend's kid is getting married in Boston. And it looks like Portland, Maine, is like an hour and a half away. So rather than flying into Maine and, the expense, it was cheaper to fly to Boston. Go to the wedding, and then I'll go and do the drive, and then I'll drive back and fly back out of Boston. So, doing your research. So if you look at the fact, if you understand how much you're burning off and what amount of meat you need, and you'll be able to make that work. Same thing with spinach. I think spinach is healthy. I love cooking spinach. I can cook spinach. I can make spinach taste pretty good without adding too much butter. But you buy a bag of spinach, it barely feeds one person. So then, maybe do some broccoli sticks. Maybe do some asparagus. Maybe do some carrots. So there's a way to get vegetables in that are a little bit cheaper. In terms of fruit, a lot of us, will buy a pineapple or a watermelon and it'll just sit there. And then the bananas will sit there and they'll get all, black and squishy. But I noticed that the family will eat the food or the fruit if it's pre-cut. Okay, well, pre-cut is more expensive. If you buy the pre-cut food, you are definitely paying 3 to 4 times the cost. So get the fruit as a whole, do your chopping up, throw it in a bowl, and make it look like it was just, bought that way. It was already pre-chopped. Same thing with bananas. I know my kids did not like eating bananas. I'm not a big banana person. But you cut them up into little baby slices and you made little happy faces with them, they would, munch them up. And that's why a lot of chefs are very creative. I'm always blown away how these restaurants can charge $35 for a chicken breast when that same chicken breast is what, $1? How do they do that? Well, because it's all the marketing around it. It's all the taste and the flavor. And be flavorful. Now, a lot of us, since we don't know what to do with our spices, will buy the, you can get taco seasoning and fajita seasoning. They're shillings, I think. I sometimes use those because I just like the mix, but it's cheaper to get your own spices. Just get your own spices and, do it yourself. I always get my butter and my eggs when I can on sale. I know Costco, you can get things cheaper that way too. But if you're trying to make healthy meals, just do a little bit of research, look at different recipes, and figure out ways where you could actually, alter the meal portion size, because that's how you're also going to save. When I have to buy meat, so, there's 4 of us in the family, and I notice that the steaks are sold in 3. So I buy 3. We could eat out of 3. And in fact, I only eat a quarter or a half a steak. So now what I could do is just cut it up so it looks like there's plenty of steak for everybody. Even though I like, nibbling it off the bone, give the bone to the dogs, whatever. But, you have to remember when you go to a store, their job is to make money. Their job isn't to get food in your belly. Their job is to figure out how to make you buy more or spend more. So you have to outsmart them. Your job is to how to feed you and your family healthy and inexpensively. My mom used to add egg or cornflakes to the meatloaf because it would make it big. You could buy less meat and fill it up. Now, I don't want you eating extra egg and cornflakes, but we all did fine. We got plenty of protein, because our eyes are bigger than our stomach. We want to feel like we're getting a big chunk of meatloaf. Well, does that really have to be all ground beef? There could be other stuff in it that you can even put little pieces of chive and kale or spinach, really finely chopped, interspersed, and that'll also get some vegetables into the kids. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Salads. I refuse to buy a salad at a restaurant. It's ridiculous what they charge. The problem is you got to get the vegetable in you. But salads are pretty cheap. Don't get the packaged salads. Just get the lettuce, get the spinach, throw it together. You could use some dressing. But, yeah, that's how I save money. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.